Well, welcome to part 3. And just in case you didn't watch part 1 and 2, especially part 1, I want to re-emphasize that I don't feel that all churches are made up of those people. And in fact, even those people in those churches, you get them out of those churches and they're really nice. In fact, I can only think of one person that goes to one of those churches that I feel owes me an apology. I miss those people, and I'm going to explain what I'm talking about. So it'll be easy for you to understand what I'm talking about. I'm going to go right back almost 4 years ago. And it was almost 4 years ago that my wonderful wife Mary was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And at that time, most people didn't notice any difference. In fact, she was still driving the car and very involved in things, and she was the leader of her TOPS group. And if you wonder what a TOPS group is, it's like Weight Watchers. Well, she was the leader, and very involved and, very outgoing. Well, it slowly digressed to the place where 14 months ago she went into a personal care home. And 2 days before she went in was her last day in her church. I took her. Her walking at that time was noticeably decreased. And right now, by the way, she can't walk. She's in either a wheelchair or a bed. And she's lifted in and out of the from one to the other with one of these, I think it's called a Hoyer hoist or something. She doesn't talk. I think she knows who I am, or at least she knows I'm a familiar face. I go every day. I've gone at least once a day, every day, except for when I go to see my mom in Kelowna. And fortunately, it's very close by. I really pushed for this home, and it's only about a 3-minute drive from right here. So I was very fortunate, and she's very fortunate because, in my opinion, it is probably the best care home in Winnipeg. Or at least there's none better. And so anyway, her last day in church was 14 months ago. And that was my last time there. Now, about half a year ago or so, I happened to be talking to somebody else who had been in with that church and had left. And they said, "You're not going there anymore?" I said, "No." And the conversation sort of went like this. Getting out of there was like taking a breath of fresh air. I actually said that. It was like taking a breath of fresh air. Now, that is because of the thinking that goes on there, not because of the people. The people themselves, for the most part, are wonderful people. You go to the church picnic and you think to yourself, what a nice bunch of people. And they are. It's only after they get in and to the church and close their door, and believe me, closed is the word. The things really just seem to get out of hand. Not out of hand that they're going to be passing out poisoned Kool-Aid. It's just that they're thinking they just don't have their heads screwed on straight. Nice people, really nice people, but hopelessly misguided. I realize that the people make up the church. I know that, so I miss those people. So in a sense, I guess I miss the church. I'm having a hard time here trying to get it across, maybe, at least I think I am, that it's the thinking that I don't miss. And that was how I took my breath of fresh air. I got away from that, well, you might say stinking thinking. Now I know that there's going to be a lot of people watching this video that are going to be offended. And I know I stepped on some toes. I stepped on some nice toes. But maybe they needed to be stepped on. Sometimes I feel like I'm the missionary to those people. You know, you don't have to believe a lot of this silly legalism. You don't have to do that. You think you do because you have traditionally done it for years, maybe 100 or 200 years. It may go way back. You know, there was a very famous man once said, when he was trying to talk to people who were really steeped in legalisms, and he said this, and I'm going to sort of paraphrase because I'm not sure that I'm going to get it right, but the idea was that you are trying to force people to do things that neither you nor your forefathers could bear. Now, some of you know who that is. Anyway, it's kind of like that now. We don't need to be doing this stuff. We don't need to be doing these silly things. It's okay to have rubber tires on your tractor. It's okay to ride your bike on Sunday or go swimming. It's okay to play in my workshop on Sunday. These things are okay. You don't have to go to church twice on Sunday to be close to God. You know, you people have got to wake up. You nice people have got to wake up. Now getting back to legalisms, because that's what this video is all about. Legalisms and strange beliefs, and I sort of got sidetracked a little. Now when I first started going with Mary, I came out of a church that was that believed that smoking and drinking were sinful. People in our circles, if you did that, you just weren't in our circles. I mean, the thinking was, you're not going to go to heaven if you're one of those kind of people. At least that's the sort of idea that was drummed into you when you were a kid. Now, when I met my wife, and the first time I went to her church, I thought that it was the same thing. Well, after the service, we came outside, and all the guys, well, not all the guys, but a lot of the people, I would say 75% of them, out come the cigarettes. I was really surprised and a little bit appalled, actually. So, yeah, and I said to Mary, I said, look, and there was a plume of smoke going up above this crowd, a plume of smoke from all the cigarettes. And yeah, I often said they smoked like chimneys and drank like fish. It just goes to show you how legalisms, things that are legalisms in one group, are not a legalism in another. In other words, they're man-made things. I just thought I'd want to get that in. Now, when you're sitting in one of those churches and you're looking around at all the different people, you've gotten to know some of them fairly well, what they do. You don't know their bottom line, but you know that some of them have done quite well. And a person might think, well, that person is really successful. You might have somebody who's into contracting or a builder or a doctor. And I have come to the conclusion that you can be successful and you can be educated and not smart. And the reason I say that, and I'm trying to say it respectfully, and I'm trying to say it tactfully, but if you believe some of these silly legalisms and go along with it and don't try to change it, you can't possibly be smart. Now, there's a woman that goes to Mary's church who not only thinks she's smart, she actually has come right out and said so in those words. And this is what's happened. We'll call her Church Lady. And she was talking to another woman who we'll call Mrs. X. So obviously Church Lady and Mrs. X, they're not seeing eye to eye. And Mary and I were in the vicinity to hear the conversation. And, well, don't you know, Church Lady comes over to the house and tells us, I want to apologize for Mrs. X. And, okay, yada, 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 and she ends up by saying, well, at least I have the satisfaction of knowing that I'm smarter than she is. Okay, this is fine. Now, Mrs. X would be really surprised and disappointed to hear that she wasn't as smart as somebody who was stupid enough to come into my house and say that in front of a video surveillance system and a bunch of recording equipment. Mrs. X would really like to hear that recording. Anyway, they're not as smart as they think they are. But then, of course, neither am I.